from the Florida Panthers, the 52 names that they want to have on the cup. So this year's process, Elliot, there's hoping to have it engraved by the end of June, kind of into early July. And what is kind of neat about this, because Mark asked about having the names engraved by the time the players get their day with the cup. So for many, many years, that was something that happened at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
But in 2023, when Vegas won, George McPhee and the Knights agreed that it would be great to have it prior to the Cup Tour in the summer. So they delayed the start of that for a few days to have the names put on. And then as it toured around, as every player got their day with the Cup over the summer, they and their families and friends and everybody that came out to see it could see their name on it. So since 2023, that has become a tradition in the summertime with the Stanley Cup champions.
Kyle, that was a good story, actually. And I was just looking this up, but there's a story from Anna Kulisa on NHL.com on July 13th showing the engraving, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I believe the Panthers last year actually were allowed to have 53 names because one wasn't included initially, and they went back and said, we really need this name on there. So I think the Panthers were given a 53rd name. Good answer, though, Kyle. Like, good research, man.
That's a good question. Like, in theory, it would be wonderful, but I just think in practice it may not be with the Stanley Cup. And they need a bit of time to get that engraving done right. And it's neat that they've been going to the same place in Old Montreal, of all places, to get
that.
it done.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yes.
And maybe this year they only get 51 if they had 53 last year. Balance it out. I don't think that's
right. Cut it to one. Yeah.
Has to be a total of 104, one way or another. All right, up next, a voicemail. Have a listen here, Elliot. A gentleman from St. Louis. I couldn't quite make his name out when he says it, but let's have a listen.
What's up, guys? My name's Clay out in St. Louis. I was calling because on the last episode that came out on Friday, Elliot talked about how there were some teams that couldn't even get involved with Mason Marchment because he had some protection. So it kind of led me to wonder, do teams, is there a running list of what a guy's no-trade protection is and the team's on it? Or is it something where the team finds out whenever they call to inquire on the player? Love the show, boys. Thanks.
I can't tell. I thought it might be Carlo.
But there was a bit of an extra syllable. Like, it almost sounded like Carlito. But I
or Coolio.
Coolio and the gang.
Well, Carlito, Coolio, please write in and tell us what it was. Because you guys were settling an argument here. I'm sorry we couldn't tell. But I can answer your question. So if you have any kind of no move or no trade, if you have a partial no trade clause, there's two ways it's done. There's either a date it has to be submitted by, or with some players, if a team can say, okay, we're thinking of moving you, or we've got an offer, we need to have your list in. So a lot of times it's the end of the year. So if you have a list, you can change it every year. So a lot of the time it's June 30th. You better have your new list in on June 30th. Other time, there's some contracts where it says at a different point in the year. I know there's one player who had it earlier in June. So by that day in June, he had to have it in. And like I said, there are other players, it's when the team requests it, we want your list. And if you're late, the teams are eligible to say, look, your list was late. The old one has elapsed. We can do whatever we want. And the famous one was the Ryan O'Reilly trade from Buffalo to St. Louis, where Patrick Berglund's list was late getting in. Buffalo was on his no trade list before. The new one didn't get in on time, and St. Louis made the trade. So that's how it works.
Okay, and I think the other thing he was wondering too, if you're another team in the league and you're looking at trading for a player that has some sort of no trade protection, how is there something that they can go, a document that they can go find, or is there some way of accessing, hold on, that guy has trade protection, do you think we are on it? How would they find that out?
Usually you can ask the agent or the team.
Okay. All right.
Now,
Very good.
players can change their minds. There's definitely been situations before where a team has been on someone's no trade list, and maybe the team's doing better, and they say, "Oh, would this guy investigate coming to us?" That's happened. Like, players have waived no move clauses before, as everybody knows. So there are situations where someone can change their mind.
Excellent. All right, Ben from Peterborough. G'day, Griffin, Dom, Kyle, and Mr. Friedman. I believe of Western alumni, it never comes up and is always hard to find out where Western graduates went to school because they never talk about it. And then he says, I can make that joke. My wife and her best friends all went to Western, and I have more Western t-shirts gifted to me than I do my own Trent shirts.
That's because nobody admits they ever went to Trent.
Oh, man. I don't understand these jokes as a BC guy, but I figured you were coming back with something like that.
Well, I should say this, and I want to make it very clear. I am not a graduate. I don't want anyone accusing me.
Clear.
I don't want anybody accusing me of fraud and claiming that I'm a graduate. So I still have not graduated.
Okay, so Ben goes on to say, even as a Sabres fan and having top 10 draft picks since Elliott was finishing his Western sports write-ups at the Spoke.
Right, that's true.
He said, yes, I would drink beers there when visiting and waiting for my wife to finish class. The draft is usually...
That's a good boyfriend.
Yes.
Good boyfriend, good husband, good man.
Can see why it's lasted this long.
Yep.
The draft is usually not a very fun affair in terms of who is being drafted out of the first top few, which is usually a foregone conclusion anyway. However, after the trade deadline on July 1st, it seems like draft day has some of the most exciting opportunities for player movements with trades. And I feel I'm not alone in feeling this way. So my question is this: how many trades do you have a strong gut feeling, or even know for a fact, occurred because GMs and hockey executives happen to be chatting around the draft floor, or even while polishing the bar top with their sleeves? If you think it is common, do you think we miss out on some of that excitement this year? Thank you for all you guys do. My wife and her Western friends are down here for the weekend in Peterborough, so please make the podcast extra long so I don't have to spend too much time listening to how much better Western is than Trent.
That's pretty funny. That's good. I like that. I'd say this. I do think some of that is going to be lost. I think that's one of the reasons that some of the GMs wanted to